Hey everybody, ronarray here, and as 0.3 is pretty close, I think it's a perfect time to discuss the placement of the classes in the new meta. So in this video, I want to focus on sharing my opinion about which classes will be pretty good, which classes will fall a little back based on all information that we have. I'm going to rank all Ascendancies together and talk about each one at least a little. Let's go. And the first option is pretty obvious, that's the Ascendancy that everybody been hyping up. That's probably the Ascendancy that currently works very good with almost any build in the game, except maybe spells. So that's a Deadeye. And the Deadeye definitely goes to an S tier, I think it goes without saying, and you don't really need to explain it that much. It provides crazy amount of speed, it's working very good with projectiles, you're also receiving almost free critical weakness right now, and I think patch in general buffed Deadeye even further. It's been one of the best Ascendancies before, and I'm absolutely sure that it's going to dominate the meta that time around. So Deadeyes with various skills are going to be everywhere, and I don't even believe that gear for Deadeye will be too expensive, because there is like a huge variety of different builds that you can get for Deadeye. That way, I think it's going to be pretty popular and it's well deserved. And after that, we are moving to the Titan, which is currently pretty questionable. Getting cool bonuses for like small passives, 50% effect, could be very good, and we will just need to see what kind of changes will be in the passive tree that time around. However, I would say that except that passive, Titan is not really providing that many bonuses, and right now it's just a solid Ascendancy. There have been also different small nerfs to warriors, maybe not so small too, all across the board, and I don't believe that Titan should be higher than B right now. But maybe with some particular builds or some crazy cool small passives, it could jump to A in theory. And the next Ascendancy is pretty much the one that got heavily nerfed that patch. It's been kinda popular before, and I think it's been pretty tanky, staying somewhere in A tier and for some people even reaching S. However, right now, I believe that Kitava is not really good options, are better options for both defense and offense. And since it's mostly got nerfed, I believe it's going to be one of the least played Ascendancy through the whole list, which is pretty much sad, but maybe it will get buffed in the next patch. And the next one which I want to touch, and the Ascendancy that been pretty popular before as well, that's the Ritualist. I honestly believe that people are sleeping on the Ritualist too much, and it shines very good for two things that it currently can do the best, so like rarity stacking and just getting crazy gear in the endgame when you can utilize like additional slot and bonuses to your rings, especially when you can reach like a mirror tier. With rarity stacking setup, I honestly believe that Ritualist is the only option that you can currently run for rarity. That way, I would say for its particular role, it should stay in the S tier, because it's been a very strong Ascendancy all time around, and it's the best option for rarity stack. For everything which is not rarity stacking, I still think it's more like A, but considering you don't have any other option for that, going for S tier with a Ritualist is making perfect sense for me. And another S tier Ascendancy which is making a lot of sense is pretty much a Blood Mage. Blood Mage got changed a lot on that patch. Right now it will receive 2 additional Ascendancy points for free. However, Sanguimancy is going to give you only 1.5 health instead of like double health. It could be considered a nerf, and some people would say it could drop to A, but I believe that it's still going to be very strong, because 2 additional Ascendancy points is a very big step forward. So I'm definitely moving it to an S tier too. And moving forward, we have like a Warbringer. I believe that people have been sleeping on Warbringer for some time. However, right now it got changed a lot, and some changes are going to be better, some changes are going to be worse. I think most of it will need to be tested. But It's definitely not looking like a huge buff right now, and I'm absolutely sure Warbringer is not going to scale higher than A, and probably going to stay in a pretty stable B tier when it's playable. There are like different builds for it, but it's not too popular and it's definitely not meta defining, because there is practically nothing that Warbringer can do so good right now, especially since totem builds been always kinda niche. And another interesting topic coming in mind. Right now we have a Tactician for totems, which is in comparison looking better. So if initially Tactician wasn't that popular, I believe with all the changes that patch, it's definitely going to go to A, and some people would probably even consider it S tier. I honestly believe it's much more better idea to just keep it in A, but it's definitely going to be a more plausible option for totem builds compared to like Warbringer, for example. Also, it's probably going to be not that comfortable to play and a little clunky because you will need to manage like the Valor and stuff like that, but it's definitely going to be pretty strong and I believe more popular than before, so I'm going to place it in A tier and over the Warbringer, especially considering the block changes. And another ascendancy which in my opinion people sleep on is pretty much the Pathfinder. Pathfinder wasn't that popular, and right now I believe that Pathfinder will have some issues again, because concoctions are not really looking amazing, and I'm absolutely sure those are not really going to be popular. However, additional evasion and all buffs like across the board, making Pathfinder definitely playable. So in my opinion it's going to be stay between like C and B tier, somewhere right here, mostly because of the improved defenses. And just based on that, I want to believe in the better future for Pathfinder, and I'm probably going to put it to B tier. And the next ascendancy is pretty much Witch Hunter, which is very questionable. There's like a few builds where Witch Hunter is kind of showcasing a pretty good results, but in general, I believe it's not going to be too popular. Initially, I wanted to put it to the B tier, but considering there's no proper buffs for it all over again, and there are like better options for crossbows, there are like better options for most of the skills, I honestly think it belongs to C tier. It's not bad, and I'm absolutely sure there are going to be some niche builds that are going to utilize Witch Hunter pretty good, and it could be even a sleeper ascendancy which could jump to like an A tier, but it's definitely not that amazing because like a lot of passives which are not really providing decent bonuses right now. And ascendancies that I've been playing a lot, which is Invoker, I'm usually placing it to the S tier because Invoker been showcasing a very good defenses, it's been also showcasing a very good offense too, but with all new buffs, especially the new supports which will give you a cool opportunity to literally reward resistances on enemies, I would say Invoker getting stacked between like A and S tier. It's still a pretty strong defensively, and it can one of the best ascendancies to stack Spirit, and probably even the best, considering a very good passive like Lead Me Through Grace. However, with the current setup, I'm probably going to be like a little more moderate about that and would put Invoker to A tier, even if I consider it like very close to S tier, mostly because of the overbuff defenses. I honestly believe even Meditate right now is going to be better because there are like less options to regenerate the shield, and you will be able to use it for overflow kinda easier. So currently, I'm absolutely sure Invoker goes to A tier. And ascendancy that got like heavily nerfed is pretty much Amazon. People initially thought that Amazon is completely dead, but I don't really believe so. The biggest issue for Amazon right now is that pretty much that it is kinda weaker version of Deadeye. So Deadeye is practically doing almost everything which is Amazon is doing, but better. And that leads to a situation when in the meta and general in the people minds, there's not enough space for Amazon to shine. But I don't think it's unplayable, and I don't think it's nerfed as hard as Kitava. So I would probably put it to C tier right now, because some people are definitely going to play it and utilize it. I think the main reason right now to play Amazon is pretty much the idea that you will be able to swap to Ritualist later, So you can League start with Amazon, like go Bow Amazon for example, or like Spear Amazon, and after that swap to Ritualist later in the endgame when you will have the gear. That's like the main idea. I don't think we will have too many Amazons staying in the Amazon class with the current state of things. And the next ascendancy that been an S tier before is Lich. Lich been a very strong defensive ascendancy. I think it's absolutely amazing for hardcore, the same like as Invoker. And the situation with Lich is pretty much literally the same like with an Invoker. Defenses are here, you're also going to get some offense out of the ascendancy itself, but I don't think it's cutting it too easily for the S tier, when you have like absolute monsters such as Deadeye or BM there, or such ascendancies as Ritualist, which is definitely the best in their particular field, such as Rarity for Ritualist. So I would probably be moderate again like with Invoker, and I would put Lich in the A tier. So Invoker and Lich both are very close to S in my opinion, but just not cutting it that good. And the next ascendancy that I want to cover is pretty much a Chronomancer. At Chronomancer always been a very questionable ascendancy. It changed again, and we still don't have enough information to see how good Chronomancer is going to perform. So it could be an absolute wild card, and it could land in any place in the whole list, even in the S tier theoretically. But the biggest issue with Chronomancer is that Ascendancy is not really popular in the people's minds. People don't really want to play it that often, because it looks maybe a little too complicated. So even if it's going to be strong, I don't believe it's going to be too popular and there are going to be a lot of builds for it. There's also an issue when other Ascendancies are doing some particular stuff better than Chronomancer. So I would take a safe bet and place it to a C tier, because I don't really believe the changes will make it too strong. However, I could be wrong about it, and it will be interesting to see where Chronomancer is actually going to land after a few weeks in the league. And the next thing is pretty much Infernalist. And Infernalist is still one of the best ascendancy for minions. You can stack a lot of spirit with it again. It also got changed, and I think more people will play like Infernalist together with some chaos damage or even ignite chaos damage. So I honestly believe Infernalist right now is a solid A tier. It has a pretty nice place in the meta. Even if minions are not going to be too popular, it's still pretty good option, and people who want to play minions, they will go for totems, so like Tactician or Infernalist most of the time. Because Lich not really providing enough bonuses for minions in my opinion. And the next ascendancy is Gemling. Gemling, to be honest, got changed, and some people think it's currently dead, but again, I believe that Gemling will find its place in the meta. It's looking very good for unarmed, it's also looking pretty nice for options like Flicker Strike or Monk abilities even. I also believe that for some particular crossbow attacks, Gemling could be pretty nice too. So I'm going to place it to the A tier right after Lich and Invoker, because it's taking a very nice position in the meta, and I don't think the changes are too big or like too bad for the Ascendancy, so it would fall down. At worst, I think it could go to B, but in general, it's still looking like a very stable all-around Ascendancy that you can pick for almost any skills. It also will be very easy to literally change your builds when you're playing Gemling, because it exceeds in so many things. Even minion Gemling builds are out there, and those are pretty viable too. And last two Ascendancies are both pretty interesting. So first off, it's Acolyte of Chayula. For a very long time, like for 2 leagues in a row, Acolyte of Chayula been not really popular and not really that strong too. However, GG decided to change it that time around, and Acolyte received a very huge damage buff. So right now you will be able to stack volatility up to 200 stacks, and you can get 200 damage as chaos damage, which is very good. However, Chayula got changed, so some particular poison builds and some particular builds that relied on a lot of Lich will be hard by those changes, and I don't believe that Chayula is going to be too popular. Initially, I wanted to place it to the B tier, because volatility could be clunky and it could be harder to play with. But I honestly want to believe into the better future. I believe that volatility is not going to be too bad, especially in the like map clearing environment, because it's definitely going to work for bosses. And I also believe that Chayula is going to be a very good option to kill bosses early together with like a Blood Mage. So I would probably pick it at the end of the A tier. And I want to believe that Chayula is going to belong there. And the next Ascendancy is Stormweaver. So for the Stormweaver, I think there's like a lot of potential placements. Spells are not really looking amazing, except the new arc, which is kinda looking interesting. And I think the main reason for Stormweaver being not too popular is that there's like a lot of spells that just better the Blind Mage. So biggest issue for Stormweaver is that it always needs to compete with Blood Mage for any kind of placement in the meta. And for Spark, for example, I believe that Blood Mage in the end is going to be stronger, and for Arc there's like option with Deadeye and with Blood Mage again. So we will need to see how exactly Stormweaver is going to perform, but right now I believe it's going to be solid B again, probably the start of that tier. I think it's very close to be an A tier, together with like Chayula and Infernalist and stuff like this, but I will be more safe in that case and will place it to B, because I'm still not sure if it's going to outperform Blood Mage, at least in some particular setups. So that's pretty much the list that I ended up with, keeping in mind that Lich should be close to S and Invoker should be close to S as well. And Ritualist should be close to A. Ritualist is mostly in S just because of the rarity stacking. Deadeye and Blood Mage are both very strong, and the rest of the Ascendancies are making perfect sense to me. One Chronomancer could be a very big like wild card, and I honestly believe that Warriors will get more love in the next few leagues and maybe even get like buffed. It would be cool to see a Titan or even Warbringer in the S tier next time. Let me know in the comments what are you going to play and what do you think about the ranking, what you would change, maybe there was something I missed, or something that you think I'm sleeping on. Thank you very much for watching,